Anything you're forced to accept or you're forced to do, people kind of like said, wait a minute. It's not like they have anything against it. It's just when something is being forced upon you and you have to accept it no matter what, whatever it is, whatever belief system it is, that's when people want to say like, hold on. And when you say hold on, people can say, oh, you're anti. No, I'm not anti anything. It's just you're forcing me to say something or do something or accept something that, you're not even giving me a chance to, accept it in my own way, in my own terms, but you're forcing it according to your narrative, according to your storyline.
Or when they say he, her on the LinkedIn or Instagram and all this kind of
with
stuff.
That one.
The magazine's English or Arabic?
English.
It's in English. But what's your total headcount that you're going to get from readers? Like 200,000?
How long have you been doing this?
3 months, Danny? 4?
Consistently 3 months. But
3 months. Okay, so 2000, prior to 2000, but I came in action in 2000. English was a pretty dominating language in Bahrain.
Sure, still is.
After 2000, 2005, 2010, things started changing. The youth, you'd be considered a youth.
Thank you very much.
Compared to me, I'm 51, but the youth.
Oh, you don't look it, my God. MashaAllah alaik.
The youth are now, we had to, and again I'm saying you, study abroad because the education was not the best, let's just say in here. The school I went to was American Mission School, which is changed to Al-Raja School. And after that school, you either had to go to Bahrain School, which is English, St. Chris, which is English, or a government school, which is Arabic. So my parents said, no, you go somewhere else. So I went to the UK. Now, today, or say past 10, 15 years, or 20 years, we do have some amazing schools in Bahrain. My grandfather built Sacred Heart Church.
Oh, wow, look at that. That must have been hard.
He built Sacred Heart Church and he built St. Christopher Cathedral as well.
Wow.
Which is why I have a VIP entrance for next week when the Pope comes.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Are you gonna take a picture with him holding hands?
Originally, I'm Christian. I'm Christian Bahraini. There are a handful of us that exist in the country. Is this recording? Are we recording?
It doesn't matter. You can edit all that out. It doesn't matter. I don't want to get sued, so it doesn't matter on me.
What was it saying? I can't remember what I was saying.
My mom is Christian.
Really?
Yeah, I'm agnostic.
Yeah. And this is what happens when, hence me as well. This is... But I love being in this environment. I think I've seen in the past 2 years, 3 years, I've seen what a society that is not really that doesn't have anything to believe in. And I'm thinking, you know what? I'd rather be in a society that has some kind of beliefs than being in a society that has no beliefs whatsoever. I
mean, that's the problem with the Western world at the moment, is because they don't have any trust anymore into their traditions, into their institutions, right? Yeah. Once you stop believing in the police, once you stop believing into fairness as a society, khalas.
You take something away from people, you got to give them something in return. You can't just take and just leave a gap and void, because then they'll fill that void themselves with all kinds of ideas and thoughts.
Look at Paris, right? I mean, I can walk around here and I can leave my car unlocked, and I don't have to.
Your house.
I can leave my house unlocked. I can leave my phone on a coffee table and go hammam.
Yeah.
None of these are issues.
Nothing. You can wear what you want to wear, dress how you want to dress, and nothing.
And nothing. But if I go to France...
Why Paris? Go London, go America, go here's Paris. Europa in general.
I agree.
It's just not a safe place anymore.
Well, I'm specifically saying Paris because I recently read an article of Japanese tourists being beaten up for their possessions.
Bahrainis.
Yeah, Bahrainis as well. Yeah.
My best friends, kids, just because of the watch they were wearing. Not because of the color of the skin or anything, just, it was more of a materialistic thing, not a racial thing.
Yeah, but when asked, the robbers, because they interviewed them afterwards, they said, why do they get to have nice stuff and we don't? Which is, what kind of a mindset is that to operate with?
It's just not,
but people,
I don't like where that part of the world is heading.
Yeah, people just don't believe in and you know what I think a sebab for it is? I think it's to do with the idea of gratitude.
Right.
And I think that societies in the West, we used to have, especially in the 80s, the idea of greed. You wanted a better life. You wanted a nicer car. You wanted a nicer house. Now people are like, hey, you know what? If my rent is paid and if I don't have to work so many hours, I'm satisfied. That's the problem, I think.
People are changing. Definitely they're changing.
Yeah,
it's not the same as it was when our parents were working hard and trying to make ends meet or trying to create something out of nothing. No, it's changing. each generation is changing, and your mindset is changing with that generation as well. And
Do you find it with your son? It's difficult to communicate.
he's only 11.
Okay.
He's only
So is a
11.
lot on TikTok and Instagram?
No. Thank God, it's mostly Minecraft and
Okay.
and
That's good.
Roblox, and
Alhamdulillah.
still at that stage.
Alhamdulillah.
We don't give him social media.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
Ahsan.
it's
Ahsan.
just he has his gaming computer, and he's very much into that.
My sister is 12. She lives in Saudi in Riyadh, and she said to me a couple of days. This was a couple of months ago. She said, "Hamid, I hope you're not a transphobe." And I was like, "Sorry, let's unpack this for a minute. First of all, do you know what trans are?" And she's like, "Yes." And I said, "So in Saudi there are no trans. This is not something that exists in our culture." She's like, "Yes, but my friends and I, we talk about it a lot, and it's not good."
Well, this is what they're being exposed to.
Yeah.
In so many different ways, and whether it's the movies, whether it's social media, whether it's companies, corporations. I mean, it is what it is. This is no, and of course, I mean, it's the idea of throwing that on when you're down your throat and saying you have to anything you're forced to accept or you're forced to do. People kind of like said, wait a minute. It's not like they have anything against it. It's just when something is being forced upon you, and you have to accept it no matter what, whatever it is, whatever belief system it is. That's when people want to say, like, hold on. And when you say hold on, people can say, oh, you're anti. No, I'm not anti anything. It's just you're forcing me to say something or do something or accept something that, you're not even giving me a chance to, accept it in my own way, in my own terms, but you're forcing it according to your narrative, according to your storyline.
Or when they say he, her on the LinkedIn or Instagram and all this kind of
with
stuff.
that one.
That to me is the immediate red flag. I'm like, no, I don't want to meet you. I don't want to talk to you.
You look at your accounts now when if you ever sign up a new account.
Yeah.
It has it has your name, your address, and then it has pronouns.
Yeah.
What pronouns do you want? It's changing. I mean, it's not I'm not saying it's good, but
no, I'll say it's bad. I'll go that far.
The change is being forced upon you, and any change that's forced upon you is something that you have to kind of sit and take time to accept and understand, and But when they force it down you or force it down your kids, which is actually the area that should be stopped. These people are in school. These kids are in school. You want to teach them things that, according to your belief, according to your culture, not some other culture or some other belief system, no matter how right or how wrong it is. You're a Christian, you're in Bahrain. You want to go to a Christian school, go to Christian school. You want to go to Muslim school, go to Muslim school. You want to go to a school that just has nothing to do with nothing is forced upon you.
Well, I mean, I lived that life because I went to school in Saudi, and at the time, I remember being in science class and asking, why is the color, for a flower or whatever red?
Right.
And obviously, it's because of how light works. It reflects on the particles that are
Right.
red, and then it goes back to your eye, and you see it as red. However, when I was in science class, قال ليش دخلك؟ Allah قال أحمر صار أحمر. This was in science class, not Deen. So it was just a blatant statement, don't worry about it.
No, you gotta question everything. This is how you grow. This is how you understand.
But that's how
You gotta
Saudi was,
question.
and it's exactly how the West is in its other ways.
Flipped.
Exactly,
It's flipped.
It's a pendulum, honestly.
Honestly, it's flipped, which is why I say this is the new frontier. This part of the world, this is where the future is. I really believe from the bottom of my heart that this part of the world with Saudi being, the forefront leading this way, this is where the future is.
No, I agree. It's a shame that you didn't focus your magazine in the Saudi market, though.
I know.
Did you ever have that conversation with publishers and marketers saying, hey, you know what, your readers are mostly, I don't know, men, and not to push women readers? I bet you that must have come up.
Well, it's in English.
Okay.
So right there and then I was eliminating a big portion of the society.
Population, of course.
Not just in Bahrain, but in the region. But unfortunately, that was my strength. She spent, as I said, I was 12 years old when I went to boarding school in the UK. And then, back to the US, doing my college degree. So English was my dominating language. And especially when it comes to writing. Because, Arabic, you can speak it perfectly well. Go ahead, write it. It's a completely different language when you write Arabic. And no matter how well you write it, you're still going to make mistakes according to some other Arabic person from, a different part of, from Saudi or Kuwait or something, because they all have their own lahja. And not just the lahja, but the grammar itself, which is a unified grammar, still they have a different way of saying what's right and what's wrong.
So isn't it best just to write in Quran Arabic and that's khalas?
Well, cars in Quran Arabic?
I mean, that's the only option, right? I mean, that's the only way to shut people up and then be like, oh.
Well, so I decided just to make it in English, and I had the market. It was doing really good. I mean, we had our readers, and the readers were people like you and me who Arabic, but also understand English as well. It's just so much easier to write in English, especially talking about things that are more built and designed by the West. I mean, these are vehicles. We still don't make vehicles in this part of the world. So the names of those vehicles, the VIN numbers of those vehicles, the models of those vehicles, everything about those vehicles is in English. I have to, literally change that vehicle and Arabize it in order to talk about it, which doesn't always, and even the lingo, when you
Ford
say
sloth. How do you do that in Arabic?
4x4. It's just everything. دفع رباعي. It's just, which works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but for me, that was, easier to communicate with. And when we would go to like events, car events, international car events, because we'd be getting invited all the time. And we'd go there and we show them our magazine. They're like, this is not from Bahrain. Is this, maybe Dubai? Is it Dubai? I said, no, because they think it's European, because the quality and the language and the style of the magazine was very international.
But wait. Let me interrupt you right there. Was it registered in the US or registered in Bahrain?
Bahrain. So I was one of the first
CR holders.
CRs to actually do a proper magazine in the country.
Are you going to tell me you didn't do a list in the US as well?
No, I didn't list it there. No, I'm very much patriotic to Bahrain and Bahrain only.
I mean, we've had lots and lots of business owners and CEOs on the show, and they always say the same thing. They always do a list in the US or in Europe, and then they make sure that their marketing material always says their listings in the US or listings in Europe. And the sabab, because, like you just said, the quality of the magazine is almost paradoxal to what the population thinks Bahrain is.
Right.
And but so it was a lot easier. I
want to change that. That was my purpose. That was my mission. Just change that perception.
Allah sa'adk.
Yeah. Well, my hair was white. Well, it was black actually when I started about. But I really wanted to change people's perception about what can be done from here. And part of the reason I did those publications in different sectors is to talk about what's happening in Bahrain. Like if you have a real estate magazine. Like today, there's no real estate magazines because mine stopped. So there's no real estate magazines. So if you actually want to understand about real estate, I mean, of course, you can go to the internet now, but there's no real website catered to the Bahrain real estate. There's ones that sell properties, but not actually, property news.
I'll take you to a step further. There's very little data sets or indexes or KPIs or KPEs
You're right.
about what's happening in the real estate. And we both know there's a reason for that as well.
Well, funny enough, in one of the segments in my real estate magazine, which is called Arabian Homes Magazine, there was a section where I would be listing the prices of land value in different parts of the Bahrain. So I would gather data from like say 6-7 different real estate offices, and I'd give them a sheet with like 40 different areas in Bahrain, and I'd tell them, tell me what do you think the value of the land is in that area, commercial or residential, and they give me that list. And
they gave you that list?
Yeah, they give me. Well, we work with them. Okay. We work with them. We help them promote their properties and things like that. Because again, we're a real estate magazine. When you have a magazine, you kind of have a little bit of clout in the industry because people want to work with you, and it's better to work with you than to work against you. Yeah. So they would give us their prices, and we'd combine those prices, we'd average it, and then I'd present those prices in the magazine. I used to have every single real estate office subscribe to my magazine because of that list.
Sure.
I'd even have the Ministry of Housing sometimes call us and says, your magazine is late, it's not out yet, because they want to know what the prices are from our point of view, not just from their point of view. So
they don't even officially announce their point of view numbers.
They don't. But somebody else is.
Well, Property Finder used to.
Yeah.
And now in order to find it, you actually have to find the URL and type it into it because it's not indexed in any search engine.
Okay.
And only then can you find that, if you look at, the last number we found was from 2018 or 2017, and it's been a downhill in all areas for...
They probably took it from our, because if it stopped, because we stopped.
That makes sense.
and they don't have the manpower or
to index it.
They don't have reporters like what we had. So obviously they'd gather that information from sources, and we're one of those.
Why does every Bahraini business owner want to get into real estate? Can you explain that to me?
So you have real estate and you have stocks, and then you have business. Business is hard. Hamad, not everybody can do business. Business is hard. Everybody can think they want to do. Everybody can start, but not everybody can succeed. Business is really, really hard. It's like having another partner in life, a marriage, basically. You have to be married to that business for X amount of years in order for it to grow. You're raising a child, even, not even just a spouse. It's just,
but Habibi, you can
but real estate, take money from the bank, put it in this and rent it. We have a very good rental market in Bahrain. Very, very good because of the size and, and a lot of interest in the country for the past 30, 40, 50 years even.
There's 3 times as much property as there's population in Bahrain.
Well, we don't cater to just the population. We have the outside. I mean,
we're Saudis who are coming for
50%
vacation.
of our population is not from Bahrain.
Of course.
So it doesn't take much to have one big company, like say, I don't know, an industry opens up in Bahrain, you have at least, 4,000 people come to the country. That's it. They've pretty much taken all the real estate availability that there is. It doesn't take much to fill in the real estate market in Bahrain. It's a small country. It's not like Dubai
because
or UAE.
This is what I'm interested in, because you're telling me from that aspect. If you're telling me, listen, Hamid, I have 100,000, I have 50,000, I have whatever amount, I would tell you, go invest into the DAX, go invest into a mutual fund, go invest into any
How
kind
many
of
people
index.
know this?
This is basic in finance in the West.
Where basic in what? In college you learned this? In school, where do you learn this?
Mostly in college and finance, right? Which doesn't exist, of course.
Right.
Because, Habibi, it's very hard for you to convince me on a property real estate. Listen, if it's in the West, you can say, okay, you know what? I can use depreciation on the property. I can use it for income tax purposes and get my tax numbers lower. Khalas, that makes sense. There's a financial reason to do it.
Yep.
But for a guy here who's looking at 4% ROI return, maybe 3% if he's unlucky.
Rent?
No, a year ROI, ownership. If they own it and they rent it.
No, they get more than that.
No way.
Yes, they do.
No way.
Yes, they do.
We had, what's his name? Ahmed Ghaffan on who's the marketing, director of what? GFH.
Khalfan.
Yeah, he said it himself. 4% in Bahrain.
Very nice guy.
Yeah.
I like him.
He's a dope guy. Yeah. And he wants to go into
family.
mutual funds and indexes right now.
Well, today now, it's 4% is way too low. So I'll call Ahmed and say, Ahmed, you know what? I think you should edit that part out.
We edited that part out. Right. Don't worry about it.
It is more. We have a very good rate of return when it comes to rent. It is good. And especially don't factor that we don't have taxes and things like this. We don't have property tax, which exists pretty much everywhere else.
Are you talking about commercial or villas or
anything?
What?
Anything. And in the Western world, if you own a property or apartment or a factory or whatever it is, you're paying annual tax on these properties.
Sure.
If you're earning money from these properties in terms of rent, you're paying tax on these things. We don't have that.
Yes and no, because in the listings on your balance sheet, as long as you put it into investment, because taxation only occurs on the profit, right? On your net profit, rather than on what your revenue is, right?
In Bahrain or in the US?
No, in the West. If, for example, in Germany, you can own properties, right? And that rental income you generate, you don't have to get taxed on it if you're using that entire rental statement as an investment portion.
Yes, there's definitely ways of deferring your taxes or finding some kind of,
now you're getting my US rate out from back in the day.
Which I have too.
But that's why I'm so confused by it. So are you a property owner at the moment?
Well, in the US, everything I bought was just cash. I didn't take loans because I didn't want to get into that area of filing, because I'm not a US citizen.
Sure.
And I didn't want to even open that avenue. So whatever I bought, money, just buy it. So I had quite a few things in California.
What about here in the Bahrain?
So here in Bahrain, not really. I mean, my family, has a compound and things like this, and I have actually my office is in a building that I own. Maybe an apartment here and there, and in Amwaj and stuff, but no, nothing.
Because I own this one, and I own the one below it.
Yeah.
And in 6 years, I found, I think, a tenant for 2 years of it.
Well, I like to. I don't know if you know this, but you've purchased in the most expensive. Not that we have zip codes, but if we had zip code in the country.
Yeah.
This is the most expensive area in the country.
Absolutely.
That's accessible and to anybody that can be, that can buy. So this is really, really expensive. You buy something like over here, you don't buy it to rent it. You buy it to live in because you want that community and you want this address. So if you're buying something to rent, this is not you want to do that, go do it in Amwaj. And you won't, my wife has an apartment in Amwaj and she puts it on Airbnb. It doesn't stop. It
Oh,
literally
really?
doesn't stop.
Okay.
1 week, 2 weeks, and then next week, 1 week, 2 weeks, then she's going back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, fantastic. Good for
Yeah,
her.
yeah. So it doesn't. Neighborhoods do matter, and the price reflects on that. So in Amwaj, I mean, this is technically one development
Yeah.
in Reef, but in Amwaj you have different developers doing different things. So some are expensive, some are not. Some were purchased like 10, 20 years, 15 years ago. Some recently. Today, the prices are not cheap, obviously. Everybody caught up to the idea of real estate, and people buy. And when they build towers, like Ahmed said, and when they build towers, they build them understanding that rate of return should not be, if anybody gets 7 to 8% rate of return, that's a good investment.
Sure.
So they price things with that mindset, but definitely not 4. They get more than 4%.
I mean, I can tell. Well, you looked at your own indexes, right? There are areas in Bahrain that do better financially than others. 100%. There's no doubt about that. From what I've seen, most of the figures and people I've talked to who either own, work, or do something real estate, it's the same kind of narrative. And when asked who are purchasing it, it's Kuwait and Saudi.
Yes, we have.
Especially in the higher end places.
Yes.
I mean, Ahmed is trying to offload an apartment, a penthouse for 1.6 million BD, which, there's only two nations that would be interested, maybe 3. That's about it.
We still haven't reached Dubai level of popularity and, Dubai itself is a brand.
Sure.
Whenever I'm in Vegas or whenever I'm in the US and I tell people and they say, where? And I say, Bahrain, like Bahrain. I say, Dubai. Oh, yes, Dubai. Immediately. So I have to use the word Dubai. And then I say, well, it's just, down the road from Dubai. So we don't have that, brand recognition yet. Dubai does. So when Dubai, that penthouse that he's talking about, he'll be sold like this in Dubai. People want to buy it just for the image, just for that address, just for that tower.
Of course.
And they do. I think one of the biggest Indian tycoons just bought a second property actually. One, he bought it for his son. So I can't remember. Don't quote me, but I believe something like 60 million or something. It was something ridiculous. And
dollars or UAE? That's a big difference.
So I believe it's UAE.
Yeah.
Dirhams.
Okay.
And then 6 months later he bought another one. But this is not people in Emirat. This is not the locals. This is not somebody from UK who just wants to move to Dubai. No, this is somebody significant in the world who happens to be living in India and from India who decided that this is where he wants his other home to be.
But
we used to do that with UK.
But let's not kid ourselves. I mean, London, Dubai, New York, Paris, that's not where the population lives being from that nation.
Right.
I mean, in London, most people aren't from the UK. In Dubai, most people aren't from the UAE.
Right.
I mean, there's facts to this.
We used to do that. I mean, our parents and our buy a property in the UK, buy an apartment in the UK, in London.
Because of stability.
Every summer we'd go to London for a vacation because it had the image, it had the brand. People want to be seen in that area.
Well,
Dubai is that now.
Bahrain was part of the British colony until 1971.
It's different. So you're talking about, I'm talking about brand recognition.
Sure.
I'm talking about like there's a lot of people in UK right now. Why UK? There are a lot of people in the world right now that would love to visit Dubai or live in Dubai or work in Dubai. Love. They haven't seen it. They've seen the Emirates ads. They've seen the towers that they have. They've seen the ski slopes. They've seen all the influencers going there, the wealthiest influencers going there and showing off what the place has, which is phenomenal. That in itself is causing or making people attracted to that place. We don't have that. And to be honest with you,
I don't think Bahrain wants that.
I don't think we want that. Even me, I don't want to be living in a place that is. I mean, this is a home. I want a home kind of environment. So whoever wants to come here and live here, by all means, but come live in a home.
Well, I've had this conversation exactly with some of the ministers from the economic board, and their reference to how they imagined the GCC, our neighbors, to look like would be that Saudi would be focused around finance, Dubai would be focused around tourism, and Bahrain should be focused on retirement homes and medical industry. It should be the crown jewel of medical in the region. And on all these people in the UK, in Spain, in America who are looking to retire, this should be their vacation home. This should be
Florida.
Exactly. Spain for the UK, basically.
Spain, yeah.
And she makes good sense. I mean, you have beautiful properties that are all on the beach and the coast, right? You have
Yeah.
great
We have
medical.
beaches everywhere.
Exactly. I mean, you're an island, right?
This is the optimum, the perfect
And it's
place
safe.
for real estate when it comes to beaches. I mean, this is it.
Absolutely.
And most of it is still, available. So, and it's super safe. And it's just, I'm telling you, before we started, this is it, the new frontier. I truly believe the Middle East, especially the Gulf countries, and specifically, are the ones that are going to be leading this part of the world to, what America was in the 70s, 60s, 70s. This is it. I truly believe this is going to be it.
Listen, a lot of people come on the show, and they almost insinuate that Bahrain could be Singapore of the 70s, right? Bahrain cannot be the Singapore of the 70s because you wouldn't want Singapore of the 70s in Bahrain.
Yeah.
For that to happen, you would have to loosen all kinds of stuff in order to allow that kind of trade.
Right.
You could do it. I mean, Bahrain has an excellent port system for trade, but I don't think that's what they would particularly want.
I think it's great to take ideas from all different places and see what works for you, and not so much just copy. So, each country or each city or each state are doing some interesting stuff, some from the Middle East, some from, North America, some from Europe. Take what's working, take what works for you even, and implement it. And I think that's what we're doing over here. I think we're not rushing. We're just taking our time, and, which is fine, especially given the fact that we're very tiny. We're not that big of a country in terms of our size. So we have to be very careful about what we do. And it's not like, it didn't work, let's do something else, or, let's do something else in the south. Because in Dubai, they have a lot of ideas, and they have the space, and they have the revenue, and they have the neighbors as well. I mean, there are 5, 6 states. They're all part of the same country.
No, I agree. I mean, I talked to Khalid al-Dosari, who does like video game entertainment and stuff like that. Esports,
right?
Basically in Saudi. And I also talked to some people from Temkeen's side here in Bahrain, and the interesting perspective from their end was, listen, we don't have as much of the financial capability as Saudi, obviously.
Right.
So the ones that we do pick, we have to pick, and then therefore we have to really stick with them.
Right.
Right. And so that's a very different philosophy what you find in Saudi, which is, when you have the cash, you can go and do all kinds of stuff and see what turns out and works.
Yeah.
So it's both a benefit and
our
loss.
true jewel that we have here, and honestly, I think everybody has said what I'm saying, so it's nothing new that I'm saying, but our true jewel is the people. The people that exist in this country, the people that work and live and are part of this society and part of residents and even, the citizens and everybody. There's so much value in that, because whenever somebody visits this country, it's not the beautiful mountains or the lakes that we have or the waterfalls that are, it's the people that attracts them.
Sure.
When you go to a place, if you go visit somebody's house, they might have the most beautiful house, but if you don't like the person, if the person's not being kind, or in your mindset is not the type of person that you want to befriend, no matter how beautiful that house is, no matter how beautiful their swimming pool or entertainment is, you're not going to be comfortable being there. Now, you go to somebody's house who doesn't have a pool, doesn't have a tennis court, doesn't have anything, but it's just super cool and you just want to hang out and you just want to be with it. That's it. That's what attracts you. This is what Bahrain is. Bahrain is the people. What the attraction is the people. And everybody, no matter who I speak to, no matter where they come, no matter what walks of life, no matter what reason they're visiting Bahrain, whether it's work, employment, health, whatever, they're always so impressed by the people. And that's our asset. And this is what we're trying to figure out, how to utilize that asset without damaging it, without changing it too much, and trying to differentiate ourselves from the regional countries, because we are different when it comes to that asset in terms of the regional neighbors.
Yeah, but we're more similar than different, right?
Of course. A lot of similarities.
We're more similar than different at the end of the day.
Definitely.
We speak for the same language to start with.
The similarities is what keeps us close-knit family.
Exactly.
The differences is what we can offer to attract people to our place.
I agree.
And that's what I'm saying.
But it's very hard to convince a 21-year-old or 25-year-old who's starting their career. They're a little late starting their career, but they're starting their career. And what opportunities do they have here in the region, right? I mean, we had, what was his name? Jamil? From Kanu? Who he himself said, hey, you know what? If you're in your 20s, leave.
Yeah.
I mean, leave. Come back when you're retired and bring your skills and your knowledge and your money back into Bahrain.
Right.
But that's a fact of life, right? If Saudi pays you a higher starting wage than Bahrain for the same skill set, so it's very hard to keep your local talent.
Well,
And there's a lot of brain drain.
let's take another example.
Sure.
In Bahrain. If you're in the UK and you're in what part? I don't know. Essex? What part of UK? Whatever part.
Liverpool.
And,
Go for
Liverpool. And you went to college there. You finished. You're not going to stay there. You're going to leave.
My point exactly.
If you're in the States and you're from the best state, whether you're, I don't know, say California, and you go to college there and you want to work, you're going to leave. You're always going to leave to go to work, to find something and to, explore and then come back. Bahrain is no different. The only thing is Bahrain is tiny. So when we leave, we literally leave the country. Whereas those, when they leave in that part of the world, they don't really leave the country. They leave a state, they leave a city, because it's huge. But for us, we leave a country. Now, honestly, if we leave Bahrain and go work in Dubai or go work in Saudi, I don't really consider it leaving. We're still there. It's
Interesting. Okay.
We're still there.
Okay.
Now, you leave Bahrain and you go work in Singapore, I say you left. You leave Bahrain and you go work in the States, I say, okay, no, that truly left. You leave Bahrain and you're working in Dubai or Qatar or Saudi, you're not leaving. You're just going to, your cousin's, another state or another, of course, it's another country. But in my mindset, it's just part of the same. They're part of the same. Given the fact that we're tiny, when we leave, we actually have to cross a border.
I agree with you. I find it fascinating because I have a lot of people on who say to me, I know in my heart of hearts that if I go to Dubai or Riyadh or whatever, I could be more successful. I could build better skills or whatever. And they have that same narrative of being like, hey, I just don't want to be so separated from my family. Well, that's the opportunity cost, right?
This is what everybody does, actually. It's very rare, not very rare, but you always have to leave your nest to expand your mind, your CV, your skills. You just have to.
So why did you do the magazine for so long?
I did.
In this
I
region?
expanded. I left when I was 12.
Yeah, but you came back.
And in 2000 I just came back because I finished my college degree. What else? You know what? I actually opened up a business in San Diego. I worked in San Diego. Even when I was in college, I was working in San Diego.
MashaAllah.
I worked in several areas. I worked in video shops. I worked in auto places. I mean, I got my Series 63-inch license, my stock license. I mean, I did a lot of stuff in San Diego. But one of the things I did in San Diego is open up a coffee shop also with my friends, 3 Arab friends. And they didn't want to do it because it had shisha. And shisha didn't exist in San Diego. This is 1987. 1997. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm not that old. This is 1997. I just finished college. I was still last year in college. And I wanted to open up a shisha shop. This is taking something from the Middle East and bringing it to the US. And my friends were my friends' fathers, let's say, they were hesitant. So I had to go physically convince the father. And some of the fathers would not give them the money. And I'd say, let's take it out on their credit cards. So somehow, some way, I managed to get all my 3 partners, including myself, 4 partners, chip in about $10,000 each, $40,000. And I went and I rented an old post office, like one of those postal annex places, those small post things in downtown San Diego. Now, I don't know if you've been to downtown San Diego.
I have.
You're young, so you've been there recently probably. But back in the 90s, downtown San Diego was not a place you'd want to go to. So, in 1995, when I'd go to downtown San Diego, want to go to a restaurant or a nice club or something, we'd hear gunshots. We'd have to go under the car or hide. So this is what downtown San Diego was. But it was changing. So I said, this is where we want to be. And I took a place in downtown San Diego and we revamped it and everything. We called it Fumari. And it was fantastic. I mean, it was a success. Everybody and their mother wanted to be in that place because it had shisha, hookah. And that didn't exist in that. Now, there were some places in LA, more Arabic societies or neighborhoods. They had that, but in San Diego, they didn't have it. Especially in
you were 10 years ahead of your time, mashallah.
I was. I guess I was. But and it was fantastic. But then I decided, finish. I want to come back to Bahrain. I got homesick. I've been there too long. 7-8 years is too long. And I just recently got married as well. So I thought this is actually where I want to live and raise a family. This is
How hard was that convincing?
Oh, it was over. Once I decided in my head this is what I want to do, I just did it.
Yeah, but you had to convince the wife's family as well to take her. That's not something you can just be like, oh, hello.
She's gonna see this, right? So
it's up to you what she sees.
I remember I had a book, a coffee table book, about the Pearl of the Gulf, which is Bahrain, and it was a beautiful book. It was very nice, very well made book. And in it, there was, at the time, the Ritz, I think it was called the Meridian. There were pictures of the Ritz and the beaches and the Ritz beach, because we didn't have beaches at that time.
Meridian must have just opened up at that point because it's only 30 years old. Yeah.
And we had a beautiful beach. I mean, it had, for the first time, we actually had a beautiful beach. And I was showing my wife at the time. So this is Bahrain. See the beach? This is all over the countries like this. This is beautiful. Bahrain is beautiful. So, this is how I convinced her. She came here, but she wasn't impressed. Wasn't impressed. It took us 10 years to make our first child. So, it wasn't, took a while to convince her that this is the place. But, it still is. I mean, now she sees the value. Now she sees how different this part of the world is than North America, especially in the circus that was going on in the past 2-3 years. I mean, she really sees like, wow, how important it is for a family to be in this kind of environment versus the Western environment that she basically grew up in.
But I mean, you have family here, which makes it a lot easier than to have kids. And imagine being stuck in COVID in an apartment in London by yourself for a year.
You said it yourself, just the safety aspect, just the rahat bal, that thing that you don't have to think about locking places or your kid is in school or something's going to happen. You don't understand how comfortable that is. And it's something that it never occurred to 90% of the people living in this country or this part of the world. Let them go live there, and it'll take and occupy a space of their brains every day of that fear of something might go wrong. Somebody might sue you, just sue you. It's a small, accident. You might get sued. You go bankruptcy. Forget the actual, killing or, things like that. Just the aspects of being sued or getting sick, God forbid, and having to, be dealt with over there, especially in America. But I convinced her somehow, some way. I convinced her, and I sold my shares to my partners. Today, that business is one of the biggest tobacco distributors, branded Fumari, same name, in America.
It is what it is.
No, my former partners own it, and it makes me super proud.
Fantastic! Do they still invite you at least for dinner?
Of course they do.
Alhamdulillah. In fact, at least they're paying for dinner.
I'm bringing their brand here to Bahrain.
Wonderful!
I'm helping a friend of mine to bring the brand here and have him export it to this part of the world as well.
I think that's a very smart decision.
But yeah, so that idea that nobody wanted to do suddenly became a tobacco distributor under the same name. So yeah. But this was San Diego, and I loved San Diego.
Are they going to? I mean, we can cut this part out, but are they going to switch into weed as well now? Wait, I mean, come on. Marlboro Reds have switched over. Were you kidding yourself?
Hey, I mean, in California, yeah, I guess.
Who owns Marlboro again? Which company?
Phillips? Philip Morris?
Philip Morris.
You're talking about Marlboro?
Yeah. I think they've started to look into.
I believe so. I believe they're trying to do their own version or brand or I mean
they already own the farms, right?
This is how things move and stuff. You get a country saying yes, and another country, another state, and now pretty much I think all over California, it's all over actually U.S. But no, this is not something any one of us is interested in or even thinking of bringing.
I think it's going to come eventually. I think it's going to come everywhere.
I mean,
again, we can cut this part out. It doesn't matter.
Progress is inevitable, and as long as there's people wanting or accepting it, then of course, why wouldn't it come? But if people don't want it, they don't accept it, then no, it's harder for it to.
From my perspective, I'm happy to with anything that makes money as long as it's legal. That's my only concern, right?
Well, what's legal? I mean, that's the thing. So what's legal here could be illegal somewhere else.
Sure.
So what's legal to you could be illegal to somebody else.
Sure. But if you would tell me, hey, Hamid, where are you going to put, let's say you only had two options, either Philip Morris, who I don't know, let's say they stick with tobacco, and Davidoff, let's say, who goes into, I don't know, cannabis and tobacco, and you tell me which one of the two you're going to invest in, I would go to choose Davidoff. You'd be like, they're diversifying their product. Tobacco and cigarettes have been on the downtrend for a very long time. Societies, especially like Australia and New Zealand, are trying to eradicate it completely. Yeah. I think it's either New Zealand...
Even the U.S.
Even in the U.S. Yeah. But Australia, I think, or New Zealand, I'm sure one of the two, I don't remember which one, have made it so that every year they increase the age to purchase cigarettes by 1 year.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
So
tobacco is a taboo right now. Tobacco is the thing that's like a no-no. Even though it's legal, it's just something that they really, really don't want in any way, shape, or form.
The Middle East is the only society still left where you can smoke inside of a restaurant
Middle
or a bar.
East, Asia, I mean, this part of the world.
Absolutely. Iran is the only, I think from what I know, the only airline left that allows you to smoke in an airplane. In domestic flights.
Really?
Only in domestic.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
So that's the last of the last.
Yeah.
And then that'll be it.
funny enough, I remember being on an airplane flying back and forth to UK with people smoking everywhere. I remember that era.
What a time it was.
It was actually horrible.
I disagree. As a smoker, I love it.
The whole plane smelled of tobacco. You walk in, you walk out, it smelled like an ashtray.
I love it.
But then they tell you can sit in the back, as if that made a difference. It's like it's not a separate room. It's this airplane. It's
But don't you miss the days where airlines would treat you like a human being, not cattle in a farm?
This part of the world still does. That part of the world doesn't. That's the thing. That's what I keep saying, that there's a huge shift in terms of what is
humane,
good, futuristic, what's humane, service-oriented. I mean, you know this. When it comes to service, we'd always look at the US in terms of this is a service society. Customer is always number one. This is, you want to know about service, go to America and learn how people service each other and how the corporations service people, and you can return things and stuff. That's changing. This part of the world still has it. In fact, it's doubling down on it.
The amount of places, sorry to interrupt you, but the amount of places that I go, like local barber shop, a mixed grill or whatever, who just more than once my barber just said, hey, you know what? أنا عجب كنت والله مؤدب خلاص يلا ما تدفعني على البيت. And I'm like, no, haram, you can't. And he's like, no, listen, come next week and pay. This week for you, it's khalas, free. Same as with mixed grill or shawarma or whatever, where they just give it to you and then just be like, hey, you know what? You've come here a lot, blah, blah, blah. That you will never find that, ever.
No.
You can go to that same restaurant for 10 years and they will never, ever, ever be like, hey, you know what? The bill's on the house.
And mostly in that part of the world, the Western part of the world, usually when good service and all this is done because of money. It's not because of kindness or because of interest, or it's strictly money. They understand the money goes up and down depending on how you treat people. In this part of the world, it's not really just about money. It's just part of their culture. This is how they are. When you come in, when they service you, when they take care of you, when they offer you something, it really is a representation of the culture. The money is secondary. Over there, no, the money is primary.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If there's no financial incentive, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. There has to be a financial incentive. Over here, we don't have really a financial incentive to make us do what we're doing, or to be hospitable, let's just say, or service-oriented.
But take it a step further, from your customers and your suppliers. Never in America was I invited, maybe for a barbecue or something like that. That's the closest a supplier might invite you to. But here in Bahrain, if I get from hairdresser to business to whatever,
hairdresser?
Wallahi, أقول لك, the guy in the Ritz.
Because I'm saying hairdresser.
Well, I get my hair straight sometimes, right? It is what it is.
Just teasing you.
It's fine. But you get invited to people's homes, and it's a pleasant experience.
It is. I wouldn't change this country for anything in my life.
Interestingly enough that we got into that subject. Again, we can cut this, I don't mind. But we had a few girls on the show, and they were telling me a lot about how they wish they had the same freedoms, the same equal rights like in the West. And I looked at them and said, listen, you can't have the good without the bad.
Careful what they ask for.
So I said, have you been to the US? And have you been to the West? And a few of them said no. A few of them said yes. I said, you've been to the West. How was the clubbing scene there? And she almost lost her face, lost the color in her face. She said, guys would touch me and all this kind of stuff. And I said, you won't find this here in the GCC. If you go to Dubai or to Bahrain, did people call you, bitch, stuff like this?
Right.
It's like when I was walking down the road, people were whistling at me. Here, if they whistle, it's a fine, 100 BD.
If they whistle, they wouldn't even whistle because there's something called respect. There's manners. And it's instilled by the society, by your family, by the leadership. I mean, everybody in the whole hierarchy has it. And if that's how it is, this is how you end up being.
Absolutely. And I said, listen, if you want to be treated like that, you can go to the West and you will be treated like a guy. Yeah. And if that's what you want, then alhamdulillah. But if you like having respect and people not touching you and people not, if somebody calls you a bitch in a club, the whole club looks. They're like, shame, big must have happened. There must be big drama. But in the West, they're like, whatever.
Yeah, no. It's not the same. But people always want what they don't have. So you're the guests that you're referring to. If
guests.
Some of them, if they haven't been to that part of the world, that and my God, it's glorified, that part of the world. I mean, just watch any movie.
Sure. Sure.
Read anything, any of these international or any of the magazines. Actually, it's just glorified, and you can't help but feel attracted to that kind of message and that kind of thing. But then when you go there, it's different. And this is somebody who's actually lived there for a while. and got married there as well. It is a difference, which is still fine and still works, but for people that are more accustomed and used to that kind of mentality, mindset, and culture. For us, no. And this is what it was actually for me. You said you just came back just like this. When I went to the States, I was, I think, 19, 20, 19? And it was just like your guess, my dream. I just wanted to go there. And it's not like I've been Bahrain all my life. I mean, as I said, I was in the UK since I was 12. So, but I wanted, the US. I mean, this is the US. So, and I loved it. And I couldn't wait just to go there. And I went there and it was amazing. And I loved every year, every time, every state I went to. And I started in Detroit and then Michigan and then went to California. I just loved every part of it. As you get older, your mind changes, your habit changes, your priorities change. And then you see like, whoa, this is really not where I want to be. This is not really where I'm comfortable to, establishing my family or my grounds. I'm more comfortable back home. And your mind changes. So your guests,
sure,
depending on their age, it's entirely right and correct, as it was for me, to think in that way. And they do need to understand and explore and find it out. If you tell them, no, don't go, they'll just want to go more.
Sure. No, I tell them, listen, go check it out.
They need to go.
I was looking for apartments with my ex at the time, who was doing her doctorate in Washington State, in Seattle. And the apartments that we looked for her, nice apartments, nice outside. But on the other side of the road, literally the other side of the road, was a camp. As in from a homeless camp. And I looked at the agent at the time, and I said, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, they're going to clear them soon. And I went,
clear them soon?
Yeah.
It's like a city right now.
Exactly. It was like a small town. Like they were doing trade. It was like we went back in time.
Yes.
Like barterism. And they're like, we shoo them away every couple of months, but they just come back.
Yeah.
And I went, you don't want to put a gate? What?
No.
And they're like, no, we can't because it's federal land and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, but you're okay with renting a price for this property at $2,000 a month, but living next to a homeless encampment with drugs and all kinds of stuff. At the time, my ex, we had a dog, and she would not walk she would say to me, Hamad, listen, I'm not comfortable walking him at night. Do you mind doing it? Right. And because it
and this is in a wealthy neighborhood. I mean,
this was a wealthy neighborhood, yeah. And the amount of times I would walk the dog and there would just be like a homeless guy just like completely out of his mind on drugs, just staring down. You know that 1,000-mile stare that...
Right. He's not really looking at you.
Yeah.
He's thinking.
But he's like on the other street side, and as you're walking, he's just like staring at you as we walk past. It's just crazy.
Now, of course, not everywhere in the States is like this. I mean, there are some blue states that are like this, and
Have you heard what the Texas governor was doing?
No.
He was putting the immigrants that are coming from the Mexico border, and he was just sending them.
Yeah.
He was sending them to straight to New York.
So you know why? Of course because it's for New York and all those states to say that we're sanctuary cities and stuff. They're not actually bordering any other countries.
Absolutely.
It's Texas and it's California, those Florida, those places are actually bordering, and or New Mexico. They're experiencing firsthand what it is. So it's easy to say I'm pro something if nobody in your country is like that. So that's what he did, just to relay that message, which I think it kind of worked.
It's weird that in the U.S. at the moment it's become almost in a sense racist if you don't want to learn how to speak Spanish, right? That's so weird.
This is an interesting topic. I just can't believe how they've polarized race in that country. I mean, it's just. The country that was always at the forefront of trying to make sure that that word doesn't exist. I mean, I remember renting apartments, and there was a fair equal housing rights or something like that, whereby if the person you're renting from
is a minority or whatever,
like if he what's the word? I can't think of the word. But if he saw me as like an Arab or something, that he didn't want me to rent one of his places, I can go and make a case against him, or I can object to that in the sense that he's not renting it to me on the basis of my race. That's how far and how deep they go to make things fair and equal to everybody. But they went a little bit too far, and they're going so far that they're actually going back to where it started. And I keep telling. when I went to when I went to the U.S. and you see people, of African American and things like this, I said in Bahrain, I'd never in my life, not once in my life, ever thought he was black or he was never. It was just Bahraini, very dark Bahraini, hairy Bahraini, blonde Bahraini, light Bahraini who doesn't speak English, but they were all Bahrainis. Never ever race entered my head ever, despite their obvious physical differences. You go to the States, that's the first thing that pops up and the first thing that they identify. Oh, he's this and he's that and he's, this ethnicity and that ethnicity. And it's the fact that they always want to write the ethnicity that they,
they really hone in on it. It's very bizarre.
It's just, be quiet about it. It'll go away. If you emphasize on something, then people are going to look at it and then they say, oh, well, I'm Arab American. Oh, I'm Italian American. And then suddenly an Arab is different than an Italian. They're all Americans, but they're all, African American. Some obviously are different in terms of their looks. Some are not.
I speak to a lot of Americans and they tell me how shocked for them, a culture shock it is when they go to Europe or to Asia or wherever, and they're just as a group of party, just called American.
Right.
Oh, they're not like, oh, John, he's a black American. Oh, John, he's a
right.
Latin American or Asian American. They're shocked from the idea that in the outside world, they're just Americans.
You're right.
It's so crazy.
You're absolutely right.
So crazy.
The Navy comes to Bahrain and none of that mindset that what I just said occurs. When they're in Bahrain, they're all American. They're all of them, no matter what walks of life and how they look or what color or whatever their hair or skin or whatever it is, it's gone. They're just simply Americans because they're in a society where there are other non-Americans, like, Arabs and things like this. So they identify themselves as Americans. You go back to take them back there, and then they go back in their own little groups.
Communities
And identities. And
it's so interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's interesting, but it's sad. Because I love America. I really love the United States. And the fact that this is happening is just, I know the interest and they want to do things right, but sometimes you want to do things so right. It's like a child. You want to protect your child and take care of him. Sometimes you overdo it. The child comes out a little bit, weird. And because you gave too much love and too much attention. So sometimes, letting go and not paying too much attention to these things is actually the way to go. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
I don't see it either. I mean, whatever's happening in the West is going to be a wave or a shock wave that's happening to the rest of the globe. I think right now, if we're talking about media particularly, in the US, I think media has peaked at the moment. Bob Iger, the former CEO of Disney, said there's more content now available than eyeballs on the planet to watch them.
Yes.
Right? And so it's peaked right now, and coding and programming, which was very interesting 5 to 10 years ago, is just in this region now being developed when the rest of the globe's kind of not anymore into it. And so media content, I mean, you were very ahead of your time with the magazine business.
Yeah.
It's only now that the rest of this region right now is responding to it.
Yeah.
And
I was a little bit lucky also because what happened is in 2016, a company came to Bahrain, and they were a Canadian company came to Bahrain, and they were looking. They visited us because they were doing some kind of show about real estate, and we had their real estate magazine, and they wanted our permission to have the magazine on the show or whatever. And in that meeting, they found out that we have a car magazine as well, and they said, would you like us? Are you interested to have a car show done? And I said, what kind of car show? And this is my partner at the time. And they said, a show basically talking about cars and stuff like that. And I said, well, what? Let's change it a little bit because everybody has a car show and the best of the best have car shows. So let's not compete with the best of the best. Let's start something different within the same ideas. So I said, how about a reality TV show around a car magazine? So, basically the yin yang of what's going on in the publishing house between myself and my partner. And we were always like at each other's throats and talking and stuff like that, about deadlines and stuff. And also the visits of the cars, and they said, okay. So they came, they recorded. We found some sponsors to cover that expense. And for 3 months, we had a film crew follow us everywhere. In the office, outside the office, meetings with clients. We went to Dubai for a whole week. They stayed with us in Dubai. Also, testing cars and meeting clients and stuff like that. And they finished it. And then they sold it to Netflix. And Netflix bought it. And that was a big thing for us because it was one of the first times ever somebody from Bahrain
Yeah.
had his own show, and it was called Arabian Motors. I made sure. I mean, I had certain conditions, the amount of money and all this stuff, and also that the name of the show has to be the name of the magazine.
Yeah.
They didn't like that, but this is my condition. So
What do they want to call it?
Deals in the Desert or something like that.
Oh, that was you?
Yes.
Okay, they removed it off Netflix now. But yeah, I saw
that was us. That was
fantastic.
Yes.
I remember watching the storyline. There was 2 guys and 1 girl, I
That's
think.
right. I'm one of the guys in my.
Oh,
my
yes.
partners,
Oh, now it's clicking.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And in 2006.
We'll have to take a picture in a bit because a friend of mine was saying that was her favorite show.
Yeah. Well, funny you said that, but just the show was 2017, 18, 19, it was on Netflix.
It was 2 seasons or 3?
It was 1 season.
1 season.
And that's the thing with Netflix. If you don't have a season 2, then they take away, you need to have several seasons. We didn't do a season 2. So, it only lasted about 2-3 years on Netflix. And it wasn't even aired in this part of the world, actually. It was aired everywhere else in the world except this part of the world. Well, the reason for that is because the producers wanted to sell it to NBC.
Yeah.
So if they sold the rights to Netflix for everywhere, then they can't sell it against somebody else. But NBC didn't
buy it. So
they didn't buy it. They're like, from Bahrain, we're not going to buy something from Bahrain, And
would you be interested in doing a season 2?
Well, what made that work was the dynamics between myself and my partner.
Sure.
And
are you still in good terms, or that's gone?
No, unfortunately, he had a medical issue.
Sure.
It's really sad, and I love my partner. But,
Speedy recovery, I wish him.
Yeah, there was a medical mishap. He had to do some kind of surgery, and it didn't go so well. So things, went downhill from there, and he couldn't, come back to work. He was, it really did affect him physically. Yes, and as a result of that, he couldn't really continue, being part of the business, and we couldn't do season 2. But if I was to do it, I'd actually, it worked with him, and I'd want to do it with him, but I can't do it with him anymore, and he's not there, unfortunately. So that is not something, and that's the reason why Netflix, took it out, because there's no season 2. But what you said, your friend, last year I went to the States with my mom. I go to the States every year. I have to go to the States. I have to pay homage because my wife, family lives there. But sure enough,
sacrificial lamb.
I have to. Yeah. But my mom also has her sisters and cousins there as well. So my mom went with me, and she stays with my cousins, and my wife stays with her mom, and I stay in my house.
I like that. Yeah, very traditional. I love that.
My vacation away from everybody else. So I'm there with them in California, but I'm also alone in my own little place. And my mom was telling me that she went with one of my cousin's kids, to college. She said, "You got to come see my college." It was Pomona or some state college in LA. And she went with him to the college, and he says, "You got to come see my university." So when they go there, you go to the reception, and I'm sure you know, but when you go to the colleges, even here in Bahrain, universities, you have to sign in. You can't just walk in. So my cousin was telling, the receptionist, my aunt is here and I want her to, come in. And she said, well, we need her ID. And so my mom gave her, the Bahraini passport or whatever she gave her. And she's taking the name and she says, Najla Uchi, hold on. And this is my mom telling me this thing, My mom doesn't speak very good English. And the lady goes back and comes back with a mobile phone and says, do you know this person? And it was a picture of me. And my mom was like, first of all, she was freaking out because somebody has a picture of me on their phone. So she doesn't understand the concept of, social media, and she still doesn't quite get it. It's like, oh, that's my son. That's my son. She says, oh, well, we know him and we follow him. We watch his shows, we watch his programs, and the next thing you know, that she's being, shown all over the campus and being taken, and they tell my cousin, like, this is your aunt. Like, oh my God, and they brought her in. So yes, I'm known. Of course, people know me in Bahrain, but in the States, people do recognize. I mean, not so much now, but in the past, But the thing is, it's not me that they saw. It's not even my mom that looks like me. It's just the name. They just recognize the name, the last name. So that lady recognized the last name, and from that last name, she clicked. So I'd understand if somebody sees you and says, you look, are you, so and so? I'd understand that, but it wasn't me they even saw. It was just the name. So it was, And I've had several of these things, several of these incidents when I went to Vegas, and especially in 2018 and 2019, and it felt good. It felt good.
So season 2 is a yes.
Yeah. So okay, we'll do season 2.
All right. We've got the.
Do you like cars?
Crew.
Do you even like cars?
Yes, but I don't think I like the cars that you like, though.
But you see, that's good. See, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for
Okay.
people that doesn't like what I like.
I wasn't planning on being the host. I can be just from the director's side of it to get production done.
No. You can be in it.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Because what works, just like this, if you're not even in this, if you're outside and you're asking me questions and I'm answering, and then you edit it to where my answers are all the time, people will watch it. I'm not saying no, but the dynamics that exist between two people, that's really what people are entertained with. It's the back and forth and what you're saying and what I'm saying and things like that, which is most of these reality TV shows have. It's the dynamics,
Sure, it has to have
the
that
drama and the fun and the love and the hate and the arguments and the tension. So sure,
you have to, if you want to do something like Top Gear or what's the new one that they made? Dan, do you remember the new show?
Grand
Tour.
Yeah.
I think those dynamics work well is because they piss on each other's legs all day long, right?
Yes.
It's a very hostile work environment.
It works so well. It works even when they left the Top Gear and they went to the States and did their own show. It was still popular. In a complete different country. I mean, it's not like they stayed in the UK. I mean, they're British. They went to America and still became popular. Still became really,
Do you know what the behind-the-scenes story was from the BBC?
A little bit, yes.
Yeah. They wanted to rehire him again.
Again after that.
Yeah. So
No, that part I didn't know.
Yeah. So
and what did
Jimmy,
Jeremy,
it was.
what did he do?
They wanted to rehire him, but they saw this as a perfect opportunity to punish him by firing him and then rehiring him at a lower wage.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, no. And he just gave out a bid, and Amazon was the highest bidder, and that's rest is history.
Rest is history, as I say. Yeah, and they really hit it big with Amazon. I mean, they have that backing.
Top Gear is really struggling at the moment with the new BBC show.
It is. I mean, they went through a lot of different characters and different hosts. Some amazing, some really famous, but it's not really just the show. It's the dynamics that happens between people that people are more interested in.
Sure, of course.
Of course, the content is important, but the dynamics, the people presenting that content, the people talking and their opinions and their attitude and how they work together, that's really what's interesting. On that note, by the way, have you seen the Biban show that we've done here in Bahrain?
Yes, I have. We had Hamad, I think, was on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think was he hosting it or presenting it, or was he?
He was taking part, but I think we had Fawaz from Winners Football Academy.
Right. So this was.
What a weird response that was. Right. So not a big fan of what Heroes Academy, I guess.
No. No, I'm more interested in the actual show than the actual participants that took in the show, because this, if
it's
only
marketed very badly, by the way.
Oh, okay.
You don't think so?
I'm involved with them.
On the marketing side?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. So this was an idea that His Excellency, the Minister of Youth and Sports, it was his, he wanted to do some kind of part of these things that was going on internationally in different parts of the world, and more concentrating on businesses and youth. And of course, under the vision and leadership of His Highness Sheikh Nasser, he's the one who's really trying to push this through. But His Excellency is the one that's actually making it happen, and he combined a team and with him under the Hope Fund umbrella, and I'm one of those team members.
Sure.
And in that team, we had to, come up with different things that we wanted to do. The show, the Shark Tank, it's actually Shark Tank.
Yeah, I know.
Was one of those things. But it was one of those things because of also what we're trying to do. So the content was being made. We were training people to become entrepreneurs. We were helping them. We were trying to find them funding. So the content was being made. We just created a show around the content. And the first year we did it, we had only four shows. It was only 4. And we didn't even sell it. We just gave it to Shahid.
4 episodes, you mean?
4 episodes.
Yeah.
4 episodes, and we gave it to Shahid, which is part of NBC. And it was just, it was so popular. And not just so popular in terms of the actual show, because it hasn't been done before. Especially in Bahrain, it hasn't been done before. And these are Bahraini people. Not all of them are young, but these are Bahraini people and Bahraini investors and their question and answers. I mean, you don't really hear of Bahraini companies usually. Nobody talks about Bahraini companies. As I said, I had a business magazine. My magazine was the only one talking about different companies, but it was in English. So this was the next step, I guess, is to create a show around it. So, I mean, it became so big that now we have participants and even interested investors from Saudi, from UAE. In this next season that we just now finished.
Season 2, yeah.
Just now, we just finished it about 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We had a couple of shows where we had UAE investors and UAE participants and entrepreneurs. And that's what's happening here in Bahrain now. We're getting shows like this, which was never heard of. I mean, when we did the show, we had to go sell it to Netflix.
Sure.
I mean, I would have loved if Bahrain TV bought it or Bahrain TV aired it, but that wasn't the case. They didn't have that kind of mindset, or I don't want to say vision. They have a vision, but that mindset was not there. But somebody like Netflix said, yeah, I'll pay, $250,000 for this show, because they were smart. They knew that this is how they captivate the audience from this part of the world on their platform. And now you see Netflix, there's so many other, Arabic shows that they have, GCC shows. So this hope umbrella that we have, we started, part of it was the Biban show, is just to show what is being done in Bahrain. And the beauty of it is it's like we're hitting two birds with one stone. It's like we're talking about investors and entrepreneurs, and we're encouraging entrepreneurs. Each one of those entrepreneurs, by the way, they're taught and shown different ways and how to present, how to talk about numbers. We hold their hands literally. We teach them everything to help them with their business and also to help them sell to the investors. And then they go on the show. So we enjoy it from the fact that there's a show being done, and enjoy it from the fact that there's entrepreneurs that are being recognized. I mean, these are entrepreneurs that now you look at them and you mention them in the same ways that Shark Tank does. You want to know now, if this business is going to succeed, and now that they have the right investor and it was on the show, what's it going to do next year? So we're going to, for example, in a year or two, we're going to go back to these people and see how they did it and how they're successful, or if they're not successful. Your show, your program, this, 4 or 5 years ago, this wouldn't, you'd probably still do it, but if you wanted to go and tell people that you're doing this, they'd be like, they'd be more hesitant. But this is what's happening now in Bahrain. We're open to these things from every level, not just from entrepreneurs like you and like you and I.
Sure.
But also from a governmental point of view as well. And they're investing so heavily in the youth because that's the future.
عندك حق. You're absolutely right, and it's a great vision. But we had this conversation off camera. So far, the money being pumped is in the production side of it rather than the supply side of it. It's fantastic opening shows, be it mine, be it yours, be it whatever, but you need to have your own supply. You can't just be selling it to NBC Studio.
Yes.
You can't just be selling it to Netflix.
Well, stay tuned.
Right?
Stay tuned.
That's what's the
There
important.
are plans.
You agree with me on this, or no?
Oh, not only do I agree with you, but a lot of people also agree with what you're saying and understand what you're saying, and a lot of relevant people, key decision makers also see that as well. And it's all in the pipelines. It's not, Bahrain is not like something we're going to do it and the next day is done. It takes a little bit of time for us to do it. UAE and Saudi, the sheer size, land-wise and population-wise, it's not fair to even compare. It's not fair. There's nothing that we can compete in terms of, just because of that. Whatever you start, whatever you open. So when we do start things, we have to think more of the regional and how we can take a little portion of it. Sure, Saudi and UAE, you can do your stuff, but we want to do our own stuff as well. And you know what? Come on board. There's Netflix and there's Amazon and there's Hulu and there's so many other things. So it's not wrong to have different platforms for different ideas, and so I'm very much for Bahrain having its own. I'm very, very,
I'm with
very
you.
much.
I'm with you. I'm with you 110%.
A lot of people that are in the business that you're in, and some in the back end of the business in terms of the studio as well, not so much as content creators, but the ones that record the contents as well. They are also, I know them, and they're also looking and thinking, there's so much that can be done here. There's so much, there's so much stories. There's so many things that can be documented, done movies, shows about, things like that. So what I think we should be having some kind of, not just in the health market, I think is what you started in telling me, that Bahrain should have some kind of, because we have so many hospitals, which I agree with, a form of a retirement kind of thing. I like the Florida idea. But also I think if we have some kind of a film academy where, because everybody now is a content creator.
Tim Keen is looking at it right now. I can promise you. Tim Keen is looking at that right now. I can promise you. But in order to do that, it not only does it require a lot of funding, but it takes 3 years to train someone to a standard of doing it, right?
Sure.
Do you think it's not easy finding Dan? And it took us to train Akash Six weeks, 4 weeks. What was it, Danny?
1 week.
Bullshit.
His third, I think your search was about 2 months. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it needs to start.
And he still doesn't know how to edit properly.
Is that true?
Yeah or not? Do you know how to do color correction? You know how to do color correction? Do you know how to set your white balance? There, that's what I thought. Let's have a cigarette break. Do you want a coffee or Sheikh Habibi?
Sure, I'll have a coffee.
Do you enjoy the show so far?
Yes.
There's 1.6 million people right now in Bahrain. Do you know that Akash right there is fighting Husseini? Yeah, Hussein Husseini from Hustle Kitchen. Like they're going to sit in a ring and punch each other's lights out.
Wow.
Because we just thought it was fun. And so we were like, okay, how feasible is it? Are we able to get any kind of cash? Are we going to do it for free? Whatever, because they hate each other. And I contacted British Club and they said, sure, we'll give you some cash for the ring and we'll put some money for the tickets. And how is it possible that in 1.6 million people, we're the only two idiots who are do something? How do you wish that?
That's very creative, actually.
Yeah.
But this is how you have to think. I mean, everybody says you have to think out of the box. They don't actually explain to you what out of the box means.
Yeah.
But it's just a slogan that people use. Oh, think out of the box. There's actually a little bit more to it. It's not just a phrase. You actually do have to think differently.
Sure. I mean, we just did it because it was fun. And now Akash has been training for how long at UFC? You've been training about a month. And how secure are you from winning against Husseini? You're 100%?
Really? Oh.
He doesn't sound very confident right now.
When is this going to happen?
January 5th.
Call me. Let me know about it.
Yeah. Well, we'll put you in the VIP seat.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
I think we've published some videos. I'll send it to you. At one point, Akash says to him, I'm going to shove my foot so far up your ass when I move my toes, you'll talk. Like crazy
VIP
stuff.
seat, you said, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I promise you.
I'm going to hold you accountable to that phrase, by the way.
Absolutely. What did he say about his business partner?
Which Omar?
Hosseini?
Omar is the business partner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's up next.
Oh, he's up next.
He said, what was it? He said, not only am I going to beat the shit out of you, but I'm going to take your business partner and beat the shit out of him.
You're on a roll, buddy. You're on a roll over here.
Everything you need for a Netflix show.
Fuck Netflix. We're going to put it on our own fucking channel. Are you crazy? My God. He had some crazy lines. He said, like, I'm going to beat up everyone who you stole money from.
That's a long list.
Oh boy.
It was money from Omar as well, so.
Yeah, that's very true. I gave him 20 BD because he said we're gonna do like a sales show, and I want you to run it, the camera gear and
Right.
stuff like that, the
Record
production
it.
end. I said, "Halas, not only will I run it for free, but I'll even pay the ticket price. How much is the ticket price?" He said 20 BD. I said, "Here's 20 BD. Go and do it." It never happened. Best 20 BD, in my opinion, to have ever invested. Just to hold it on top of his
It's not
head.
even an investment. It's like a ticket to entertainment.
Exactly. Because I knew I knew nothing of it will happen. So happy.
Well, I'll be waiting for that January 5th. January 5th, you said, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's gonna be amazing.
I have a bunch of fights lined up actually for me.
Yeah.
Even Khalid al-Dosri came on and he was like, I'll host it, but you need to fight me as well. I'm like, dude, why do I need to fight everybody?
And then Ali Muhammad as well, if you know who that is.
No.
He's
representing boxing in Bahrain.
the Bahrain boxing champion, the official one.
What is this challenge that why is he challenging everybody and
Because it's just fun.
No, I'm not challenging anybody. People challenge me.
what is it you're doing that makes people want to challenge you?
I think I have a good personality.
You know what? I'm next. Based on what,
I'm telling you, he's got a real piece of mouth to him. Just once he opens up a little bit and isn't so shy like a
well,
little
you can
girl.
get him in trouble and definitely get him out of trouble as well. You can use the mouth in both
No
ways.
way, I'm gonna keep him in jail. What are you talking about?
Depends how you use it.
No, jail time. What about it, Akashi? You come out like Batman.
No comment.
But yeah, I don't know. Why do you think Bahrain, like, people don't do anything fun?
Fun?
Sure, they go to Jaffair and like fuck around.
Fair.
But they don't message people on fucking Instagram and say, hey, I'm gonna punch the lights out of you. Nobody does anything, Yanni.
I think
wild.
It's such a close-knit family. I mean, you know, and I mean it in every sense of the word. Everybody knows everybody. And if they don't know you, they know somebody that you know or some relative of yours, that it just makes it hard to, you know,
Be the black sheep?
be the black sheep. And hence the
You're the black sheep of yours, I imagine. I'm definitely the black sheep of mine. I mean, I think that's why we get along so well.
well, I try to be nice to everybody.
Being nice is
I try
fun.
to, you know, balance things out, and I am opinionated, so I definitely give out my opinion when it's being asked. But you know, you need to. When I was a little bit younger, I was more hard-headed and really opinionated. But you need to balance this every now and then, and just figure out how. Boarding school. I went to boarding school.
Sure.
You learned this in boarding school. I was the only Arab out of 6,000 students. Everybody else was British. Literally, everybody else was British. I think there was like 2 black guys, 3 Indians in England, 3 Indians and 2 Pakistanis.
Those were back the days. Those were the days.
This is 1984, 85, 86, 87, 88. And I was the only one there. And I figured out that it was hard because, you know, there's a lot of prejudice and racism over there, especially being an Arab, you know. What is it? Camel jockey, oil digger, whatever, you know.
Son of a sand nigger.
You know,
I got that one a lot.
So
You didn't want to finish that sentence.
I said digger. digging the oil. but I figured out, actually, I don't know if I figured out, subconsciously it happened to where there's no way I can change the way I look. This is how I look. I can't change the way I look. So whenever somebody sees you, automatically they like, okay, you don't belong here because I'm in England, so I don't fit in that scene.
Community, yeah.
So what I figured out is it's in the accent. If you're able to replicate the accent of the person that you're speaking to, that is much more important than the way you look. You could look Asian, Chinese, and speak Bahraini, and khalas, you're Bahraini. So the physical appearance will definitely get you in there or be accepted or not accepted. But once you start talking, that's when it confirms it. So I picked up pretty much every single accent in UK. The Cockney accent, the English Queen's accent, the Welsh accent, the Irish accent, the Scottish accent, the rich people's accent, the poor people, the Essex accent, everyone, and I change it whenever I speak to somebody from that thing. And once you change the accent, that's it. You're one of them.
You really wanted to fit in, didn't you?
Oh, I really did. I mean, I had a really tough time. It was really, I really had to struggle being the only Arab in that school, and I was young. And this was part of the survival. I think this is the point of people putting you in boarding school. It's just to give you that tough time and figure out, so that you can figure yourself out and figure out how to fit in and how to survive. And I took that to the next stage. So when I came to Bahrain, I did the same thing. So Lebanese, I speak to them, picked up their accent. I speak to them Lebanese, Egyptian, Palestinian, طبعا Bahraini, Iraqi. And I picked it up to the extent that there's no way on earth they would know that I wasn't Lebanese or wasn't Palestinian. There was no way. I'd speak Lebanese to somebody who's from Lebanon, and he wouldn't know that where I'm originally from. And the same thing when I went to the States. I'd pick up the accent, like the Texas, the California, the Florida, the different parts of the South. And I really believe that it's not the physical appearances that people really judge you on. That may be the initial thing that people judge you on. It's the accent. If you have the accent, you can be looking the way you're looking right now, and you'd have, let's say, a Lebanese accent. So yeah, you're Arab, very comfortable with that. You're Lebanese. Once you start talking to me in the same look that you have in Bahraini, you're closer to me. You're much more closer. You become a stronger bond. The accent is really what makes people accept, somebody else even more, not their looks, because you can't change your looks, but you can change your accent.
And do you still try to please people now after all these years?
Well, it's not so much pleasing. It's being accepted and being one of, because when you're accepted and being one of, then khalas, you establish a relationship. So it was really, really hard for me to fit in the UK. I was 12 and 13 or 14. It was really hard.
That was 40 years ago now.
Yeah. 6 years. 6 years.
6 years, sorry, 6 years ago.
6 years. I had white hair then as well. But it was really hard because in England it's very hard. I mean, they have a barrier because, you obviously look different. But once I was able to replicate their accent and speak exactly in the same dialect that they're speaking, we became friends for life. till today. I'm in contact with some people from the UK, from school, from boarding school. And in America, it wasn't so much the case. In America, it was really easy to make friends, really easy. From day one, you're in college, you're in school, you befriend people. But it was more, شو يقولون يعني بالواجهة. يعني it wasn't
just face.
Yeah, it wasn't, you leave that school, you leave that state, or you leave whatever, and that there's a separation right there and then. In England, it was the opposite. It was really hard, but once you do it, it's for life. In America, it was really easy, but then you lose it also really easy.
I mean, for we and you, although we both went to boarding schools, we had very different experiences. I was maybe expelled anywhere between 8 to 10 times.
For what?
For all kinds of stuff. I just stopped giving a fuck, really. That's why, like I've never had that need to be accepted at all.
Did you go to boarding school?
Yeah.
Where was it?
I went to Zurich. I went to Germany. I went to UK.
Oh boy, they shifted you around. Didn't they?
Oh boy, anywhere. Then I went to Zurich, Switzerland, Germany, UK, France. I think the last one was they tried to send me to military school, and I tried, yeah, because a friend of mine went to military school, and I talked to him about it, and blah blah blah, and he told me he got expelled, and I was like, well, if he can get expelled, I can get expelled. How hard can it be? It's so.
I think you're on a mission to just be expelled from schools.
I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know.
There was
how
a variety. I think you were looking for the education in the variety of schools, not so much the No.
I learned very early on that whatever information that they were trying to teach had very little to no meaning.
Oh, I knew that.
Right.
I mean,
so I was like, why am I wasting my time here? I might as well just go outside and smoke a cigarette and just chill. Just look at the clouds.
I figured that out from a really early stage. It's just that I needed that certificate because everybody wanted it, and my parents spent such a lot of money for that certificate, so I had to bring that certificate back. But honestly, I knew it was nothing to do with what I wanted to do.
But don't you? I mean, I kicked my own ass now looking back on it, because I found out that you don't even have to have a certificate to go to university. Because you can just do a foundation year.
Oh, I'm talking about the degree.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the actual degree.
Yeah, but you don't even need to get an A-level or a GCSE. You can just go to any university and do a foundation year.
Yes.
And then you can go straight to university at the age of 16 or 17, depending on the university.
Well, for me, it was more of getting the college degree for my parents. And even when I was in college, I mean, in school, you had to learn all these. I had to learn Latin. Imagine that, Latin. I wasn't good at it, but I had to learn Latin because apparently it was the fundamental language of English.
And all that.
Please don't bring pugnamus, pugnatas, and all that stuff.
I love Latin. I love Latin.
And of course, I had to learn French, which was nothing. I don't even know how to say hello. Actually, I know how to say hello, but that's as far as it goes. And I just pretty much knew that this is not something I was interested in, and it's not something, but it's what I had to do to get through. Now, when I went to college, it didn't change. In university, it was the same thing. I had to take all these courses, and I was taking like Arabic courses, soccer. That's why my 4-year degree, it took 7 years to do a 4-year degree. I actually had to graduate because my wife, who's 5 years younger than me, was going to graduate before me. So I'm like, shit, I got to catch up. I can't have her graduate before me. So I had to graduate and just take cram all these courses at the end and just finish up, and so I can get that degree and bring it back to my parents. But it had nothing. I never got a job. Never, ever, since I got the degree till today, actually had to apply or be employed somewhere. It was all something I did myself.
Yeah, just have
and even
reputation.
In college, when I was working, it wasn't because of the degree. Obviously, I didn't have a degree. It was more just experience. I wanted to work. I mean, I worked all walks of life. I mean, everything from as I said, from video stores to restaurants to catering places to the stock market to whatever I was able to do. Certification, real estate, brokerage, insurance, all that stuff. And that all had nothing to do with the degree. Obviously, I didn't even have it at that time. But it was more to do with the interest and more to do with I just interested in just learning so many different things.
For me, I don't know what it is. I mean, the only job that I despite even till today, looking back on it, is so I started at 14, 13, and that was computer repair. That was the thing that...
Where?
In the UK. That was the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst that I remember.
How old were you?
14 or so. 13, 14, something like that. And I would go there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because the rest of the days was school days. And I did it mostly for free, and I got some discounts on products.
Okay.
So it was for I think 6 months or a year, because that was the longest I stayed at that. That was the longest I stayed at that boarding school before I got myself kicked out.
Like 2 weeks?
Yeah, 1 year about I stayed in that place, and I remember that how small the screws were.
Right.
And I just hated how much I had to focus and concentrate and just sitting there with a hunchback trying to undo this fucking laptop and trying to fix this keyboard. And that's when I learned about privacy in that aspect, because they kept, we'll have to cut this section out. They kept a whole, like, there was like a shelf of CDs.
Right.
And one section was movies and the other sections was porn. Okay. And so all the employees would steal all your data from your computer, every single thing, and then would put it on 2 piles. So that's when I learned about how important it is to be careful with your data.
This was your first job?
First or second, yeah.
Yeah, first, second. I did a few of those, but my first job was actually working in a nightclub. I was 17. I was too young to work in a nightclub. Because of the
As
alcohol.
a bouncer?
No, I wasn't that lucky. Not that big of a guy. This was in England. It was in a place called Southend. And the nightclub, I remember, it was called Tots, Talk of the South. And, my friend said, busboy. It was a busboy.
Okay.
They called it pot boy, which is basically collecting the glasses
and
during the event. People are drinking and stuff, and you go around to collecting the glasses and you take it to the bar and they clean it up, and then, just collecting the glasses. And they taught me how to collect 30 glasses in one hand, which is a skill that I have, that I'm trying to figure out why I need that skill, but I have that skill right now. And I loved it because it was, I couldn't serve or I couldn't do anything because it was alcohol, and being underage, you weren't allowed. I was lucky enough just to be able to work as a, busboy. And that was the first thing I did. And my parents found out and they were like, you got to stop now. And of course I lived alone over there. So I stopped. This is when I just finished boarding school. But it was and boarding school wasn't, as I'm sure we can share those stories, but it was horrible. I mean, the first year I was in boarding school, the first month or 2 or 3, it was like I was in camp. I was happy. Month number 4 was like, oh shit, this is real. Month number 5 is when the students became like, rude, and and all the other ones became like, oh, you're an Arab. By month number 6, I was on the payphone, because they had payphones in those days.
Yeah, I remember.
I had my 10p's and I'm putting in the 10p's. I was like, Mom, come pick me up. I want to, they're in Bahrain, come pick me up. And I ran away from school. My mom had a house somewhere in Southend, and
I did that too.
And I just ran away. I just ran from school, and I went and hid in the house. I had the keys for it, and the school called my parents, and they said, your son ran away. And of course, my parents, I'm the only boy, freaked out. My dad got on the plane literally the next day and flew to England. He knew where I was because some of my relatives were still in the UK, and they were telling him that he's in the house.
Got a meeting of your life.
No. My dad, Allah Yarhama, was just the best dad ever. I mean, he just let me do he made me learn from my mistakes. He wasn't like a bossy like I am. I'm very bossy. But my dad was just the opposite, and I just wish I'd be like him. But basically he came, he says, what's wrong with you? I said, Baba, they're calling me names and I want to get out. And of course the whole point of boarding school is to be in that situation and figure out yourself how to deal with it, to strengthen you. So he said, okay, I'll take you out. So we got in the car. I remember his car. It was a Mercedes 280. And we got in the car and we drove for an hour and a half to school. And he said, and he parked the car and he says, I'm going to go to the headmaster, do the paperwork. You go back to your boarding house and pack your stuff. I went back to the boarding house. This is 6 months after I was in boarding school. I went back to the house, and I learned quite a few swear words at that time. I had zero knowledge. I mean, my English was really bad. I'm coming from American Al-Raja school, which we had 2 classes a week in English. So my English was pathetic. But I was an international student, and they were, they took it as a challenge for me to become better. And I did become better. My swear words were fantastic. I had a very big vocabulary of swear words. And I used all those words when I was saying goodbye to my, friends. And I was packing my stuff, and I was F this and F you and F everywhere. These are the words that I learned. And I'm out of here. And I packed my bag and I go, and I swear to God, I remember standing outside that blue Mercedes, outside with my bag. It was a big blue bag, waiting for my dad to come out of the headmaster's office. And he comes out and he says, you're packed? I said, yeah. He says, well, change of plans, you're staying. And I'm like, my heart just fell. I think it went inside my shoes. I'm like, what do you mean I'm staying? I just said goodbye to everybody in a very nice way. I can't go back. And he says, no, you're staying because the headmaster said that what I'm going through is normal. And they don't
want to give the money back.
I'm pretty sure it was about the money.
Yeah, of course.
We're not going to refund it.
Why do you think I got one of the schools stopped expelling me? It was because of the cash. Are you crazy? Of course. They needed the money.
Foreign students pay an arm and a leg.
That's what I'm saying.
An arm and a leg, especially in boarding school. And he said, you're staying. And I'm like, please, Baba, please don't do that. And he says, no, apparently if I do that, then he's gonna regret it, and I'll regret it. And then I had to just put my head down and take that luggage and go back, and all those friends that I effed, on the way out, I had to work on fitting in, which is where the accent came in, which is where the, figuring out how to become like them and speak like them and be accepted like them. So boarding school toughens you up in a controlled environment, let's just say.
I was so different than you because for me, boarding school, you meet a lot of faces and a lot of faces disappear. I never was too interested. I was more interested in being by myself more than spending time with people. And I got into a lot of fist fights for various reasons and a lot of fighting. And that was just how I was. I never like sat there like when...
What triggered it? What triggered the disagreements?
The indifference?
Yeah, the indifference.
I don't know. Some people are attention seekers. Some people just try to piss on your leg because they think it's funny, or they want to see how you react. But it's all fun and games until you punch them in the nose, and then suddenly they regret their actions very quickly.
Were you there during the time where corporal punishments was accepted?
Yes and no. So because it got worse and worse and worse and worse from the university.
What year we're talking about? What year?
90s.
No, okay.
90s to the early 2000s.
Okay, all right.
And
so I was mid 80s to late 80s.
I mean, we had rape in our boarding school. We had like
no,
pedophiles.
I'm not talking to that.
We had wild stuff.
Disciplinary measures, like you got the cane or the slippers or the trainers.
No, I got that at home. I think me and Dan are very similar to that sentiment. We got beaten the crap out of us. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No, this is it.